Hallo zusammen und willkommen auf dem Laco YouTube-Kanal zu einer
Hello,
neuen
everyone,
Folge,
and welcome to the Laco YouTube channel for a new episode, a new talk about our Laco watches. Today, again, we will be talking about the Pilot watches, and anyone who likes the look of time gone by, yet still wants to accommodate this or that modern feature, is welcome to do that with the basic models of the Pilot watch. More on that after the intro. Here sitting next to me is a wonderful guest. We have with us today Dario Laurin Bär from the Laco marketing team. Hello Dario, good to have you here.
Hello, everybody.
Today we will be talking about the basic models of the Pilot watch. But before we get around to that, we want to catch up with our new viewers out there who may not yet be familiar with the term Pilot watch.
Also bei Fliegeruhren handelt es sich eine ganz spezielle Kategorie von Uhren.
Exactly. So pilot watches are a very special category of watches. We have two different types of models with the different dials, the A dial and the B dial. We'll explain that in more detail a bit later to our viewers. So yes, these watches were worn, as the name suggests, on planes. However, mainly not by the pilots themselves, but rather by the navigators, who needed the watches to make very precise calculations to determine the exact position, and also for keeping time.
Zeitmessung.
Right, back then, digital displays did not exist yet either, so you couldn't just look at your mobile phone to see what time it was. And that's exactly what these Pilot watches, also called observation watches back then, were used for. Even today, Laco still manufactures authentic replicas of the original from back then. I'll link the video to that here, so please feel free to have a look at that. Today we will be talking about the basic models. So what exactly do we mean by that?
Unter der Basismodellreihe baut Laco quasi eine Einstiegsserie.
In the basic model series, Laco manufactures an entry-level series into the world of mechanical pilot watches. In the basic model series, we have once again these typical aviator features, such as the two different dial variants or the rivets on the leather straps. Basically everything that is reminiscent of the old pilot watches, but in a case that has a bit more of a modern touch and is just right for people who are just getting into the topic of mechanical watches as such, perhaps, or pilot watches.
An das Thema mechanische Uhren an sich vielleicht oder dann an Fliegeruhren rantrauen oder rantasten, genau das Richtige ist.
You've brought us a lot of watches with you from the production site in Pforzheim, Dario, including the two basic models Augsburg and Aachen. Let's take a look at them together now. Two different dial variants, as we mentioned a minute ago.
That's absolutely correct. For one, we have the Augsburg. Here we have a diameter of 42 millimeters, which is typical for this kind of watch, I would say, with the hour scale on the outside. We have a matte black dial, and the numerals and indices are coated with superluminova, which means it also glows really well in the dark. There's the Laco logo at the 12 o'clock position, just below the typical aviator triangle with the two dots. As you can see here, there's also the Made in Germany lettering, because the basic pilot watches, like all the other watches, are also made in Germany by us in Pforzheim. And with the B dial on the Aachen, here also in 42 millimeters, we have this typical B watch dial, the one you tend to know from historical photographs that the navigators used to wear. The special feature is that the hour ring has been moved to the center because that wasn't quite as important, but rather the focus here is really on the minutes, which are located on the outside. Here also a matte black dial with superluminova because legibility back then was also very important, and even nowadays Laco is still synonymous with great legibility.
Ablesbarkeit auch sehr wichtig war damals und heute Laco auch immer noch für hohe Ablesbarkeit steht.
Then a lot of contemporary history that has been captured. However, there are also two other dial variants. For one, the Blaue Stunde or Blue Hour, and the Neapel and Palermo with the orange color.
Und Palermo mit der orangenen Farbe.
Genau, also die blaue Stunde habe ich jetzt auch gerade am Handgelenk.
Exactly. So the blue hour is also what I have on my wrist right now, here with the A dial. You can see why it's called the blue hour, because depending on how the reflection of the light hits, the dial reflects this really beautiful blue sunray pattern, which I personally think is super cool. Also, the idea that the blue hour is right after sunset, when the sky really turns deep blue, and because the pilots are so much closer to the sky and can see even further, that's where we got the inspiration from.
Horizont noch weiter sehen,
Proving it is all very well thought out.
As I mentioned, the Neapel and Palermo are also available with the dial A and dial B. And they have these orange-colored accents, also superluminova, which means that the orange numerals and indices also glow in the dark. This color accent is also super cool and is actually inspired by orange plantations in Italy, which also adds this dreamy character and is simply something special. And also goes really well with black jeans.
Einfach auch was Besonderes. Es passt auch mega cool zu, weiß ich nicht, einer schwarzen Jeans oder so.
And it also makes the whole thing somewhat younger, right? More modern and more suitable for everyday use.
Exactly. More possibilities. You have a lot of different options in the basic models to choose from at your liking.
Now, at the latest, you'll realize that the watches have been named after cities. I'm sure Laco had something in mind there too.
The city names result from the fact that we came up with the idea at some point that there are a lot of big airports near well-known cities, and that's how we got into that idea. Augsburg and Aachen, for example, are represented here in the basic model series.
Zum Beispiel hier ganz präsent bei der Basismodellreihe.
Beyond the names of the watches, let's now talk about the watch on my wrist. Here we have a brushed case. Is that the standard in the Pilot Watch's basic lineup?
Also bei den typischen Uhren Augsburg-Aachen haben wir dieses...
So, with these typical watches, Augsburg and Aachen, there is this brushed stainless steel case, which is quite popular already. The exception then are the bead-blasted cases, just like, for example, in the case of my Blue Hour. That means the watch is more matte and has a kind of silvery finish, which gives it something quite elegant, something special. And then, as a third option, we also have the black PVC-coated stainless steel case, for example, Altenburg and Bielefeld. Those are then fully coated in matte black.
Die sind dann komplett mattschwarz beschichtet.
So there again, a wide range of options to choose from for everyone. And in terms of the diameter sizes, we also have options, right?
Yes, there's the 39 millimeters and the 42 millimeters. So for wrists that are a bit smaller, you have the 39 millimeter cases, and then you have the 42 millimeter. It also depends somewhat on the dial. The B dial, of course, looks a bit more compact because there's less free surface area, and the A dial appears a bit wider as a result.
Und das A-Zifferblatt halt eben noch ein bisschen weiter.
At this point, I would like to once more refer to the Laco sizing guide. Some of you out there might not yet be sure what diameter to choose, so feel free to check out our website for that. There are, of course, also other options.
Yes, exactly. So, as I said, you can either go to the website and look at the sizing guide, or you can also go to the website and find a list of dealers to see which dealer might be closest to you. And then try on the watches there, or visit us directly in the showroom.
Or also at the trade fairs where we often have a booth. Now let's get back to the watch. Here we have sapphire crystal.
Das Saphirglas.
Right. This is the same for the basic model series as for all other Laco watches. We have sapphire crystal in the front and also in the back.
Which is my personal highlight, by the way, being able to see the rotor through the crystal bottom.
Absolutely.
Now, we can see the movement through the crystal bottom. What can you tell me about that, Dario?
In Laco Basisfliegern sind ausschließlich Automatikwerke verbaut.
With the Laco basic pilot watches, we only use automatic movements made by Miyota. We have a stop second in it, which means that when you pull the crown out to set the watch, the second hand stops. This means that you can set the time even more precisely, which is also, of course, important. One of Laco's big draws is readability and precision. The movement has a power reserve of 42 hours by default, but you can also upgrade the whole thing to more than 60 hours of power reserve. That would be the Laco 31, which you can then easily do in the online shop or at the jeweler.
Das Laco 31 kann man im Shop dann ganz einfach machen oder beim Juwelier sagen.
We also have a big selection of straps. For example, we have the leather straps, which were typical in the 1940s, the metal bracelets, and the textile straps.
Das schlichte braune mit den zwei Nieten passt halt zu den Fliegeruhren.
The simple brown one with the two rivets fits best with the pilot watches from the past, as you already said earlier, which is also authentic with these two decorative rivets. So they don't really go all the way through, but of course they do belong with the pilot watches because these used to be riveted on in the past. For the Palermo and Neapel, we have leather straps with the orange decorative stitching, which matches the dial. But on the website, there are also many other options to choose from in terms of straps, which you can then also select as a customer. As you already mentioned earlier, We also have the metal bracelets, which do give the watch a bit more of a sporty character. And the textile straps like the one I have on my Blue Hour right now. A pull-through strap in blue-gray, which also goes really well with the case and the blue dial.
This means that depending on the strap, we can also create a different look, sometimes sporty, sometimes chic, elegant, and so there is something there for everyone. So what is your favorite combination?
Well, my favorite combination is definitely the Blue Hour because of the dial. Either with the textile strap, which is just a bit more sporty after all, and also goes well with a shirt, for example. I think that's quite a good look, and a bit more casual. Or the steel strap with the Blue Hour, which comes in the same blasted finish as the case, and which I think looks really awesome when you hold it up to the light like that. I also like that very much.
Anyone who wants to personalize their watch is also welcome to do so. Up to 3 engravings are possible, on the side, on the bottom, and on the rotor.
Yes, that's right. The side flank is free, which can also be engraved. There's also space on the bottom of the case, or for those who like it on the movement, we can also engrave the rotor.
Is there any other option for customization which is possible?
Yes, so on the one hand, we have the option of installing sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on both sides, which is less reflective for those who prefer that. Especially with the blue dial, with the sunray pattern, the dark blue comes out even more. I think that's really beautiful. As I mentioned earlier already, there's the movement upgrade from Laco 21 to 31, with the higher power reserve and the decoration, and of course a whole lot of strap variants with which you can then also individualize and personalize it again.
So there are many options that can be personalized. And the watch is delivered to your home in a stylish flat box. There it is.
Correct. There it is. Also, a really nice, pleasant feel in the hand.
Anyone who wants to combine the Laco DNA with modern design is welcome to do that with the Pilot Watch basic models. We've reached the end of this talk. Please take a look at our website. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter.
Exactly, so that you no longer miss any new watch models. But more importantly, in the case of the basic pilots, the limited editions that are released several times a year.
That's right. And if you subscribe to our channel, you won't miss the other videos either. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. Thank you for being here, Dario.
Thank you for having me.
With pleasure. And thank you to our viewers for watching. Goodbye until next time.
Bye.